Welcome to The Balancing Act with your host, self care strategist, speaker, author, and president of Divine Potential Services, Sierra Hilaire. She is a wife and mom who is on a mission to activate women to be authentic, balanced, and free to relentlessly pursue their purpose.
Welcome again to the Balancing Act with me, your host and self care strategist, Sierra Hilaire. It is always a blessing and honor to be before you with the Balancing Act, which is our signature series that highlights the stories of busy moms and wives and entrepreneurial women who are balancing life, business, and ministry while making self care a priority. And so, again, welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you do not miss a show and upcoming content. Okay. So today we have with us a young lady who I have followed and I admire truly, Miss Betsy Evans. I am going to allow her to just say hello and tell you guys a little bit about herself and what she does. But again, thank you, Betsy, for accepting the invitation to be a part of the Balancing Act. I am excited. I feel like this has been so long in the making, for us to actually connect and come together. But welcome to the Balancing Act.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Yes.
It's always an honor, a pleasure. I'm very humbled that, people are willing to trust me with information, or I should say, giving them advice when it comes to this particular topic. I will say, for those who don't know me, I am a mom, and I am a mom of four beautiful girls. I have a 10-year-old who is on the autism spectrum, and she also has ADHD. I also have an 8-year-old who has a diagnosis of ADHD and anxiety, but I also have twin beautiful little girls that are just rambunctious, and they are just the light of the Avengers girls
Yes.
gang. Okay, we call ourselves the Avengers fam, the Avengers Six. It's
I
six
love
of
it.
us. My husband and I love our girls, and we pride ourselves in raising them to be the best women they can be.
Amen.
Aside from being a mom and a wife, I am also the owner of Mom Special Needs Services, which is basically a service that provides education, resources, as well as advocacy services for parents of children with disabilities. Prior to becoming an advocate, I was a speech pathologist for about 8 years. And after that, during the course of my journey as a speech pathologist, my daughter got diagnosed, and I realized that, you know what, if I don't pour myself into her now, then it's going to determine, how independent she is when she is an adult. So let me just leave my job, do what I need to do, get her all the therapeutic services she needs, specifically early intervention, and let me just go about it that way.
Wow.
So the way that I became an advocate is very accidental, actually.
Wow.
Um, I was basically advocating for her at school to get her certain services and for her to get placed in a better classroom, because I thought and I knew based on her capabilities that she was not in the correct classroom. They put her in a
Mhm.
very low functioning classroom for her age. And she was only 3 years old. She was going to regular school because, unfortunately, this is how it works. You literally go from, whether you're in daycare or early intervention services, you go straight to the school system. And at that point, I decided, you know what? I need to say something. I'm usually the only one in a room when there's parent meetings and things of that sort that looks like me. But at the end of the day, I know what I'm doing. I have enough background as a speech pathologist. And I really wish that other parents were like this, but let me just be the example and go to these meetings and make sure that I advocate for her. So, long story short, I advocated for about 6 months, and they refused to listen to me. And
Wow.
I decided, you know what, maybe I need help. Maybe I'm not doing it the right way. Maybe the right words. Maybe I'm not sounding educated enough.
Right.
I found someone that was very gracious to help me. She was a psychotherapist for children. And she's like, you know what, Beth, call me your advocate. Um, I'll go in the school for you with you, and I'll go in the meetings with you, and I'll advocate for you. Sure enough, she went. Cost me a little over $250 an hour,
Wow.
but she did the job, and she was pretty much reiterating everything that I had already said.
Wow.
And to my surprise, just having that one person that said they were an advocate and basically just showing them at that meeting that I had someone to back me up, she asked for the same exact things, and little did I know that that's really all I needed,
Wow.
because next thing I know, less than 2 or 3 hours after the meeting ended, I got a call from the district person that was in charge of that school and assigning kids to different schools, and she called me and she said, "Hey, which school would you like for your daughter to go to? This one or that one?" And I said, "Well, no. I know you guys have availability at 2 different schools, and these are the ones that I'm looking at." And it turns out that one of the schools that I picked, which is called Bodwin Preschool, was a school specifically for children on the spectrum, and it
Wow.
was probably one of the best schools out there. It's located in Nova Southeastern
Wow.
and University, and so the advocate, helped, and she said, "Nope, tell them that you want Bowden Preschool. I know that there's availability. I've already made my call,
Right.
and they told me that there's availability for your daughter." And so sure enough, I did. And less than a week later, she was already registered at Bodwin. So that little piece of that story just really made me realize, you know what, is this really what it takes for parents to get what they need for their child?
Yes.
So sure enough, I kept in contact with her, and we kept in contact, and I asked her, I said, "What does it take for me to become an advocate for my child?" And she's like, "Not much, just educate yourself in the system, how it works, etc." And that's pretty much how it started. I started, doing a lot of research, reading, connecting with parents, attending all kinds of trainings at that school because they
Wow.
offer so much. They offer a plethora of trainings for parents. And fast forward a few years later, being part of an organization of women that have women that are entrepreneurs, the
Right.
Millionaires Club, they really pushed me. I realized at that point that, you know what, maybe me staying at home isn't enough because I'm helping my friends that are parents, and I'm being held accountable to start my own business. So let me just do that. And so Mom Special Needs Services launched in August of 2018. It was an event that the Millionaires Club did for
Wow.
women that were part of the organization to launch their own business.
Wow.
And that's when we launched, August 2018. And sure enough, we've been around for the past 4 years. I've serviced clients in Georgia, in Virginia, in Florida here
Wow.
within the Tri County area. I have a client right now who's looking into having me become their advocate. They're located in Orlando. So I'm really happy to say that it's grown.
Yes.
And really my priority and my mission at the end of the day is really to help parents be able to advocate for their own children,
Right.
not only on the local level, but on the policy level. Because
Mm.
going through these past 4 years, I've gone through, of course, completing programs to get me a little step further in
Right.
being recognized as an advocate. So I went through programs such as Partners in Policymaking program, which works very closely with um, policymakers in helping us, the parents, understand our rights, understand our children's rights,
Wow.
etc. And then also too, I completed another program at Nova Southeastern and got my master's in developmental disabilities, which helped me
Oh,
understand, the different types of developmental disabilities out there. And my specialty was in leadership and advocacy, which is already something that I'm doing. So at the end of the day, I can get all the credentials in the world, but
Right.
nothing could have prepared me better than being a parent myself.
Yes.
Because that's one thing that I always tell parents that I think sets me apart from the rest, because there's a million advocates out there. Are
Right.
there quite a few advocates that look like me? Not really.
Right.
Um, I'm one of the few, but in the same instance, I know that being a parent and experiencing it firsthand at home has been the first thing that prepared me to be who I
Yes.
am today. I didn't realize it then, but I realize it now that being a speech pathologist, going through all these programs, going through everything that I was going through, God was molding me into the person that I am
Come
today.
on.
And he was preparing me to be this
Yes.
person, right? So my pride is has always been my family. That's one of the things that most people who know me know that about me.
Yes.
I'm all about my girls, especially with 4 girls. You have to be a girl mom to be a mom of 4 girls,
Yes.
right? So, I definitely pride myself in them, and, learning on a daily basis, because as a parent, we all know we don't have a blueprint.
Right.
We continue learning every single day. So yeah, so mom really helps parents really just get those resources if they just receive the diagnosis of autism, or even if you don't have a child with autism and you think your child's struggling and you need someone to hold your hand throughout the process and guide you through the system, getting that school placement, or getting, to a different school. Maybe your child's having quite a bit of difficulty in a school,
Right.
making sure that your child is getting all the services that he or she needs. And then, of course, getting that education. I usually do a few workshops. I just completed a few workshops with an agency, a local agency that provides ABA services for parents. And they brought me on board to do these workshops for parents on particular topics that we felt were needed in our community.
Okay.
So that is something that I plan on continue to do,
Yes.
just partnering up with different agencies and looking for those parents that I know need the help. And then, of course, last but not least, the main portion of mom is those advocacy services, and hopefully doing, events in the future, specifically on those 3 pillars, right?
Yeah.
And but at the end of the day, that's really what mom does, and I enjoy it. I feel like it's not work, because when
Wow.
you live it, you're able to really do it as you're going through the motions. You're able to
Yes.
help parents through
Right.
that as well.
Right.
The only difference between myself and a lot of my parents is that I've gone through the motions that they're not going
Right.
through.
Right.
Really, that's the only difference. It's not my education, it's not my skills.
Right.
It's really just, having someone who's experienced guide you through the process, and
Right.
knowing that that person truly cares and is going to fight for you, for your child,
Right.
and for their rights, just as
Right.
they would for their own child or their own children at the
That
end.
is awesome. That is awesome. And I love your story every time, you share it, because oftentimes when we find ourselves in situations like what you went through, your daughter being diagnosed, it's so easy to fall into a funk and feel depressed or like a victim, but you took that and you turned it into something meaningful, and you turned it basically into your life's mission and purpose. And so, anytime women share their stories like that, I think it's so powerful, because that is the key. Like when we go through things, the Bible says that God works all things together for our good. And so you not only took it and helped your own family, but you're helping so many other families, because we do go through stuff like what you experienced and don't know where to go, like don't know who to turn to. So just knowing that you are out here in the community as a resource, for me, is encouraging, whether it's in my own personal situation, or I may know a mom or a family that needs your help. And so that's the key, but I'm so grateful every time you share your story, when I hear how you took that pain, or you took what should have took you out, and turned it into something powerful. That is awesome.
And I have to say, just as an added, my story is not perfect, because at
Right.
the end of the day, I did feel alone. My
I
husband
know.
was not on board. He was in denial, and
Yeah.
he'll tell you that today. It's so amazing at I'm just so amazed at his growth because being in the
Yeah.
community that he's in, he's always in the public eye. And
Yeah.
because he's always in the public eye, I anticipated for him to be able to talk about those things in the open. But it took him 2 years. It took him 2
Yes.
years to fully immerse himself and realize and understand that, okay, this is in the long run. This is
Yes.
something that is here to stay. It's not going
Wow.
away. So having those conversations,
Wow.
putting these things in place for her future, on where she's going to be when we're no longer here, where she's going to go, who's going to take care of her if God forbid she doesn't become fully functional and independent.
Right.
Those talks were difficult. They were
Wow.
very difficult, and in the beginning I had to give him his time, and I
Right.
took it with a grain of salt because I was just like, okay, let me just do what I need to do. Once he comes on board and he sees that there is a reason that, I have to be at home and I have to take care of her, and we have to
Right.
travel to 6 different therapeutic services, on a daily basis or
Wow.
throughout the week, literally 40 hours a week of therapeutic services. It was
Wow.
difficult, but we got there. And he understood once he came on board and he understood everything that occurred,
Right.
and the fact that it was for a reason and that as I always like to say, we were the chosen ones. We
Yes.
were parents. He took that and he just ran with it. And
Wow.
now you'll hear my husband talk about it on stage. He has a
Yes.
show specifically for children with disabilities. He has
Wow.
a poem devoted for Aaliyah, talking about our experiences as a parent. So those things are really important to note because a lot of times people see your story and they think, oh, her life is perfect, but it's not.
At
There's
all.
been there's been, potholes along the way. There's
Yes.
been all kinds of detours. Even in marriage itself, things have been difficult because they tell you
Yes.
parents of children with disabilities end up usually 50% of them, 50 to 70% end up in divorce. And that's one of the things that could put such a strain on a marriage. So
You better
I just wanted
preach.
to make sure that,
Yes.
I know that you mentioned it and you love
Yes.
to hear the story, but I gotta tell you, there's all kinds of bumps in the road, right? So
Listen, that
it's
is what the balancing act is all about. Like, we can't come on and talk about the glorious moments
yes,
without talking about the low moments
yeah,
because they go together,
they do.
And so I'm so thankful for your transparency. Because it's not challenging whether we have children with disabilities or special needs, just being a parent in general.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, because I get a
Yeah.
chance to experience both in my household,
Right.
one with, one without, and let me tell you, it's difficult.
Right, right. That is awesome. Thank you again for that, just level of transparency. So we're gonna get right into our questions. So on top of just everything that you've already shared, how are you balancing life, business, and ministry without burning out?
Well, if I had to be very honest, I think that it it includes quite a few things, right? So for me personally, it has to include my non-negotiables, are definitely spending time with my family.
Okay.
If anybody knows me and has watched me on social media, I'm not the one person to post everything, but
Right.
at the same time, I love to spend time with my family. So definitely making sure that we're that close knit family, especially having 4 girls. That's one of the most important things for me. Implementing the fact that sometimes I do need my own time. And
Right.
that is the most difficult part for me, believe it or not. That is one of the
Really?
most difficult parts for me to maintain. And I say that because I could have it on my calendar and I could
Right.
have it where it's like, okay, mommy's time, or
Right.
whatever you want to call it, mommy's day off. Um, and I could have it on my calendar and the day comes and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with myself? And I think to myself, And I find myself either, okay, I could possibly go shopping or I could possibly go get, a massage or whatever it may
Right.
be, but I'm constantly checking on home or I'm
Yeah.
constantly checking in on the hubby or the kids and he's just like, "Can you just take a day off?"
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah.
it is a very difficult thing for me personally because
Yes.
I am first off, I'm an introvert. I love to feel needed. I've recognized that about myself.
Yes.
So so I think that's the biggest thing for me,
Right.
just really putting myself out there and telling myself, "You know what? You're taking the day off." So
Yes.
I've been put in certain situations where it's instead of a day off, it's a weekend off, and I go on a trip with friends or something of
Right.
that sort, and, being part of different things at the same time, it actually helps me. So, one thing that, helps me personally is I know that, being part of, a women's organization such as the Millionaires Club, we have certain things that we put in place for women
Yes.
to do, whether it's brunches, whether it's backpack trips, whether it's international trips. And those things, believe it or not, I am like a kid in a candy store. I put
Yes.
it on my calendar and I'm like, yes, time
Yes.
with adult women.
Yes.
'Cause on a daily basis, I get like, a lot of negativity, a lot of things coming my way on my daily job because parents are
Right.
complaining or whatnot. So just getting that time to myself, getting that time with the family,
Have
weekends
fun.
almost
Yes.
non-negotiable, having fun, and I've literally recognized this just the other day. I said to myself, "You know what? I'm gonna work 4-day weeks.
Come
Fridays are
on.
my day.
Come
I'm
on.
not necessarily gonna do anything special, but Fridays are my day to fill my cup."
Yes.
Even if it's Fridays with me and the twins at the museum because,
Right, right,
my other 2 girls are at school,
right.
it is what it is. And most of all, almost every Friday night, me and my husband take a date night.
Nice.
Every single Friday
I
night.
love
If
it.
we don't take a date night, it's because he's out of town or I'm
Right,
out of town.
right.
So, that's one of the biggest things for me, really just keeping
Love
it
that.
interesting, family time, it's time for me, time with hubby, and in some cases, like last weekend, I did something that I haven't done in a very long time. I took my middle one, and we went with one of my very good friends with her daughter, who's very much the same age,
Okay.
and we went and Little Hen in Weston, and it was the most amazing time. Girls, they love tea time.
Wow.
It's
I
a it's
love
one of those
that.
really cute and fancy little
I
restaurants,
love it.
and tea time, and we just had a conversation. Myself,
Right.
her, and her 8-year-old and my 8-year-old, and it was just the best time ever, and she told me she's
Wow.
like, "Mommy, thank you so much for having mommy and me time," and I was like, "You know what? Would you like more of that? Yeah, sure, we can
Right.
implement that." Where am I gonna include it on my schedule? I don't know, but we can.
It'll work. It'll work. Maybe the Friday morning, she might get to
Yes,
slide
yes,
from
or Saturday
school.
morning or
Yes.
yeah,
Wow. I
yes.
love
So
that.
it definitely, it can be tough, but, as long as there's always, us, we always say we make the time for the things we want,
Right.
right? And if we want to be part of 6 different things at the same time, or own 6 different businesses, have a family, and also be able to, work on our own schedule, we'll find the
Right.
time.
We will. We will. I love that. I love that perspective. So for you, it's just the being around your family is
Oh,
how
yeah.
you self-care and use that time to not burn out.
Correct, correct,
Wow.
because
I
it takes
love
me
that.
away from all the craziness in the world.
Right.
Just watching my girls grow, taking my time on my own because I know I
Yeah.
deserve it, I know I have to,
Yes.
and then also too, taking time with the hubby, doing date night because even after 11 years, almost 11 years of marriage, you're still dating. You
Yeah.
still have to date your
Yeah.
partner,
Yeah.
which
Because
is
we
one of the
are.
things that I tell my parents all the time. And,
Yeah.
even if it means your self-care is, going to a therapist and, venting, you can do
Yeah. Yeah.
so it depends on what your definition of self-care is, but I
Right.
will tell you this, if self-care means to most people, okay, let me just take some time off, get my nails done. It could be, but I
Right.
think it's a little bit more than that, right?
Right.
You want to be taken care of spiritually, physically, emotionally. Whatever brings you joy at the end of the
Yes.
day is really
Yes.
what you need to look at as far as your options. But
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. I even remember one time me and you had a conversation and you were telling me about like your lifestyle of like your diet, how you
Yes.
don't eat a whole lot of things and you're very clean. And I was like, wow, like what
It's
inspired that?
It's very difficult because, and I say it's difficult more so because I live in a household that not everybody is. So I am
Right.
vegan and I've been vegan for the past 6 years. And what sparked my interest is the fact that I was looking at different diets or different things that have been proven to help with children with autism.
Okay.
Because they do tell you that autism is a gut related disorder,
Yeah.
and they say that the behavior of the child has everything to do with what they're eating.
Yeah.
So, red and yellow dyes, orange dyes, they say try to avoid that because it
Right.
it, it hypes up their energy, their hyperactivity. They tell you to avoid gluten. They tell you to avoid dairy. They tell you to avoid soy, which soy can also be a big factor, especially in Black women. They say that soy does not help and it
Right.
actually encourages fibroids.
Yeah.
So I started looking at that and I really started telling myself, okay, maybe I can try this on my own before I try it with her, with
Okay.
Aaliyah. And that being said, let me just do that. And when I looked at her diet, especially with my speech background, speech pathologists sometimes can do feeding therapy if they're certified. And I used to do a couple of things that kind of was the segue to feeding therapy, but because I was a speech pathologist assistant, I never got the really true training
Okay.
in feeding therapy. But I knew a lot because she went through feeding therapy herself. She had feeding aversions.
Wow.
So, anyways, started looking at the diet, and I said, you know what? These parents have seen different reactions with their kids, so maybe I should just stick with it and go from there. And to begin with, she was not a big meat eater.
Okay.
And she never really liked red meat. She just kinda ate, you know, poultry and she ate, seafood. So I
Okay.
said, "You know what? If I'm gonna try this on myself, I might as well just do it full out."
Right.
Around that time, coincidentally, that's when the movie, oh my
What the
goodness,
hell?
What the Health came out. There you
Yeah.
go. That's around the time that it came out. In addition to that, I was suffering a lot from migraines. I've suffered from migraines since I was 15.
Wow.
And my chiropractor gave me an article and he said, read this article and next time you come back, let me know what you want to do. Because I told him, I said, I'm getting these migraines. In the article, it
Mm.
said that dairy is culprits of migraines. And I said, what? I love cheese. I love ice cream. Like, what am
Wow.
I going to do without dairy? So, sure enough, I was like, okay, I'm going to cut dairy. I'm going to cut dairy, and that's how I'm going to do it.
Right.
Cut cold turkey, continued with the gluten-free, soy-free, and dairy-free diet, and I said, "You know what? What the Health came out, I saw everything that they're doing. Let me cut out the meat too."
Yes.
And of course, thought I was crazy. But he was like, "I don't know about you, but I'm gonna continue eating my meat." I said, "Well, I'm not gonna cook it at home." So I said,
Wow.
"I'm not gonna cook red meat at home. We're just gonna eat, cook like, very lean, stuff.
Right.
So we're gonna do just seafood. How about that? I'll cook it, but I'm not gonna eat it."
Right. Right.
And sure enough, that's how it started, and I never went back. I never went
Wow.
back. I tried a couple times. I wanna say maybe 2 years into my 6-year journey, I s I was having this thing. I started craving pizza. I saw the kids eating pizza, and I was
Mm.
giving them, because 'cause I'm strict with them throughout the week, but it's not to say that they get to eat whatever they want during the weekend, but if let's say we're at a restaurant and they have pizza,
Right.
I'm gonna allow my daughter to have pizza,
Right.
especially if they don't have a vegan option.
Right.
So, I tried pizza and I kid you not, less than 30 minutes later, I could feel the reaction. I had to run to the restroom.
Wow.
And I was just like, "You know what? That's not for me."
Not for you.
So
Yeah.
so it's been easy. Once the milk and the dairy was taken care of, it was easy on.
Okay.
And I think that I've reached a stage where I no longer crave meat and
Right.
I no longer crave dairy because I found replacements for those.
Right.
So it's I mean, a friend of mine sent me a recipe the other day of how to make, milk from almonds, and
Right.
it's so easy.
It
It's
is.
so easy, we don't realize it, but it's
Yes.
so easy, and those
Yes.
replacements, they taste the same to me. I
It
mean, most
does.
people might not agree, maybe not cheese,
Right.
but in the same instance, they're pretty easy.
Right.
So,
Right.
incorporating that at home. So technically, the family is dairy free. Um,
Okay.
most for the most part, they're gluten free, and we've seen such an improvement in Aaliyah since then. But
Awesome.
that's what's really has kept up us continuing it. But for me personally, I just never went back. And
Yeah.
my third pregnancy with the twins was probably the best pregnancy I ever had because that
Wow.
was my first pregnancy being vegan.
Wow.
Um, so the twins actually were born vegan and they do eat seafood here and there,
Okay.
but yeah, they love their vegetables.
I
As
love that.
surprised how much they love their vegetables and their fruits. And so I've kind of kept up with it and I've encouraged my husband. He doesn't fully eat a lot of meat, but if we go out here and there, he'll have something,
Right.
but it's been one of those things that I'm like, listen, I'm not the type of person that will expect everybody to become vegan. I
Right.
do it for my own health reasons and my own you know, for me to feel how I feel, because I know
Right.
how I feel when I don't have certain things, and it's just
Yeah.
been easier. So, as a testimony, I would say my migraines used to be 3 to 4 times a week, and I get them maybe twice a month, usually once a month for sure, but maybe twice a month, and it's been definitely a change for me.
Wow.
Yeah,
That
so
is
that's the biggest
awesome.
thing for me with my
Yeah.
health when it came to the eating habits, because that made a huge difference for me. It
Yes.
wasn't prescribed by a doctor or anything like that,
Right. Right.
but I'm still living, I'm still walking around and breathing.
Listen, and the key is living a better quality of life because
Exactly.
everybody is living and walking around and doing their thing, but do you actually feel good? What is your
Yeah,
quality of life like? And
yeah, it's
so when we
much
don't have that quality of life, it makes balancing that much more difficult.
Mhm, exactly,
Mhm.
especially and I know you can attest to it, especially with 4 kids, they take a lot of your energy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, yes, so that's the
That
biggest
is
thing.
awesome. That is awesome. I'm glad we were able to talk about that a little more
Thank
because
you
we
for
really
bringing that
have
up. I
little
didn't even think about it.
conversations.
I didn't even think about it, but thank you for bringing that up. That's a
Yes,
good
that's
one.
awesome. So, who inspires you to keep your priorities in order?
Just the same exact thing over and over again,
Yeah,
my children, because, I can have different mentors, I can have different people that have set examples in my life. My sister has been one of the main sources of my strength.
I love that.
Throughout our childhood, she was mom and dad for me because my parents were
Wow.
divorced and we had a very, I'd say, a traumatic divorce situation. But she has been my main source of my strength. She probably doesn't know it. I don't tell her that enough. But at the same time, my children are definitely my inspiration. And my husband can be a very big source of positivity and
Yes.
inspiration in my life as well. But if I had to name them, it definitely has to be my husband and my children because when you see the growth in every single one of them, whether it's over 6 months or in my oldest daughter's case, sometimes we don't
Yes.
see growth until about a year down the line. We'll look back and we'll say, oh my goodness, she's not doing this anymore. She can
Yes.
actually speak in sentences now, and she was speaking in 3 word phrases before. And they're definitely my source of inspiration. And I hope and I pray that I can be that source for them because at the end of the day, they may not realize it now, even though I tell them all the time, but they're the ones who inspire me to do everything that I'm doing and to continue doing it.
Yeah.
Because I know that a lot of times, even as business owners, we can feel defeated some days. we can feel defeated and we can feel like, "Oh my gosh, this is not for me." But
Yes.
somehow or another, every time we feel that way, God sends us a sign telling us that
Mhm.
you're right where you need to be. Like,
Yes.
why are you worried?
Right. And it's so
So,
funny how you would bring that up because if I could just be honest, today was one of those days where it was
there
like,
you
Lord, I need you. Real simple. I need you.
I
Today is
know,
one of those days, yeah.
yeah,
But
but
nevertheless, we keep
one thing that I
pushing.
was gonna
Yes.
say, and that's exactly what I was gonna say. One thing that I
Okay.
was gonna say is not only that we keep pushing, but we understand that being human, you're gonna have those days.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean that because you're having a bad day, it doesn't necessarily mean that, okay,
You got a
I
bad
should quit my
life.
job, I should quit what
Right.
I'm doing. No, because at the end of the day, if you realize how many people you're gonna be letting down the moment that
Yes.
you quit,
Girl.
oof, mm-mm.
We don't have that. You get to a point where realistically you don't have that option.
You
But
don't.
right, right. That's the
Not
real
an option.
reality. We don't have that option, but being in tune with the reality that I'm still human. And this is why I feel like the self care piece is so
Exactly.
important, where I'm able to give myself permission to be
Mhm.
okay with just not being okay, even if it's for a
Yes.
day. A bad
Even
day
if it's
does not equal a bad life.
yes. Yeah.
Right.
And I think I don't I wanna say it was Les Brown that talked about this, getting yourself out of the funk, right? It's
Yeah.
okay for you to be in a funk, but
Right.
allow yourself one day. That's it. That's it. Get
That's
yourself out
it.
after that because if you allow yourself to be there for more than a day, oh honey, you're gonna stay there.
Right. Right.
And yeah,
Because it
and
becomes
that's
a stronghold,
it does.
and
It
it's
does.
our past is always knocking at the door for us to go back when God is like, just keep trusting me by faith, and I'm gonna keep pulling you forward on the bad days, even on the good days.
Yes.
The journey is about trusting God through it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And recognizing in this case you said a key, giving ourselves permission to take a break, giving ourselves permission to for that self-care. And that's where that I think I talked about it, sometimes I told myself, you know what, maybe Fridays isn't for me. Maybe
Yeah.
I need a 3-day weekend. And
Yeah.
that's where that came from because I realized I'm like, okay, this is becoming a trend that by Thursday I feel burnt out.
Yeah.
So Friday is my mental health day. Just call it
Yeah.
a mental health day. And people
Right.
are like, but you don't even work that much. Well, it's very intense. It
But
can
the
be
reality is it's actually harder working for yourself and being an
it
entrepreneur.
is.
It
It is.
takes more. Our brains are
Discipline.
constantly.
Yes. And it takes a lot of
Yeah,
discipline.
yeah,
And recognizing whenever we need help too. Because I've
yeah,
had to tell a few of my parents, I don't like to ask for help. I
right,
don't.
right.
But I recently had to have a conversation with a very dear friend of mine and say, "You know what? Can you help me?
Yeah,
Can you help me do these tasks?
yeah,
Because I'm spending time on these tasks and it is not bringing me money. It is
right,
administrative tasks that could be taken care of."
yeah,
So it's been, recognizing that time when you need help, when you need a break, when you need your self-care, that's the most
yeah.
important time.
I love it. I am your sister over here. I agree. I agree. My goodness. So this is my last question, and it's always
Sure.
interesting because this series has really helped me like grow my library, right? To just hear the different books that everybody's been reading. So what books are you currently reading?
To be honest with you, I'm not reading anything right.
Okay.
I'll be honest, but I am looking forward to reading some.
Okay.
There was a few books that came into play for this year that I haven't read yet, but I actually took a book, to show you. I've
Okay.
had this book for a long time. Someone gave it to me and I haven't cracked it open. So
Okay.
I'm dedicating my time to hopefully start reading it soon.
Okay.
It's called Dear Haiti, Love Elaine. So this is really
Hmm.
more so a story about this woman that she's from Haiti and she praises her dear Haiti. She talks about how of course, how extraordinary of a country Haiti is, how resilient its people are. She talks about quite a few different things in the book. My sister actually gave this to me. She said, I'm getting rid of my books, and I figured you would like it. And it was one of those things that not only it includes her personal story, but it also helps explain why she is who she is today. So
Mm,
that's one of the books that I'm definitely planning on reading.
okay.
But I am also a very one of those people that loves to listen. So because
Yes.
of my lifestyle, I don't make time because I'm not, I'll be very honest with you, I'm not a reader.
Okay.
I'm more of those auditory people,
Got
so
you.
auditory is much better for me. I'll
Okay.
listen to it in the car, always on the go with the kids.
Right.
So I actually love listening to different podcasts.
Me
I love
too.
listening to people's stories and overcoming, their difficulties in life. I don't have a particular one that I listen to, but I will say that when it comes to podcasts, I listen to different ones. So I'll listen to those that talk about personal development. I'll
Okay.
listen to those that talk about particular topics within personal development. I actually like to listen to quite a few different rooms in Clubhouse also.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So that's something that I actually even thought of doing myself because I'm like, okay, maybe if I can't start a podcast now, maybe I should start a Clubhouse room. But
Yes.
a lot of things that I listen to are more so related to my field, but
Yes.
also too, I love to listen about personal development. So nothing
Awesome.
in particular, but like I said, this book is definitely something that I want to take the time to read because I know
Awesome.
I'm not a reader.
Okay. Okay.
I know I'm not a reader. So
Right.
taking the time to do that and forcing myself to sit down and really read is such a difficult task for me.
I know.
But we all know we have these cheating apps now, that that
Right.
read it for you.
Right. Right.
I have this app called Speechify on my phone, and
Okay.
you literally take a picture and it reads it to you. So, yeah.
Hold on, repeat that because that's a life hack that us busy women need to know about. What is that app
So
called?
so it's called Speechify. It's
Okay.
spelled speech, IFY, and
Okay.
it's a really cool app. You can, depending on when you get it, obviously, I think in this case I'm grandfathered in. I don't actually pay for the service,
Okay.
but you can connect PDFs, you can take a picture, you can connect an article, like a link to an article, and it will read it to you. So
Wow.
a lot of the ways, well, one of the ways that I was able to get through my master's program very recently, because when I started my master's program, I was pregnant with the twins. They're 3.
Okay.
So I started in 2019, May of 2019. I just finished this past July.
Okay.
And that was one of the biggest things for me. Doing my reports, putting it on there, having it read it to me, and making sure that I didn't make any mistakes, or putting peer-reviewed articles, peer-reviewed journal
Wow.
articles in Speechify and for it to read it to me so that I can do my actual reports.
Wow.
So it can come in handy. And it
Okay.
actually, the story behind Speechify is very amazing because it was created by a child or a boy that had difficulties with reading. If I'm not mistaken, he suffered from dyslexia.
Okay.
So that's one thing about me. A lot of the times when I'm supporting something, it's because there's such a personal story
Right.
behind it.
Right.
It's such a brilliant app. It really truly is.
Wow.
So it can read it to you, whether it is in PDF form or because you're connecting a picture to
Right.
it. And so that's what I told myself. I said, this is a really thick book.
It
So
is.
I mean, you can see the thickness. It
I
has at least
see.
300 pages. So I definitely can take advantage of the Speechify app and
Right.
use it. Yeah.
That's what you can do on your Fridays, girl.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That'll be
Yes.
your
For
self-care
sure.
Fridays. That is
For
awesome. One
sure.
of the things that I'm actually planning on doing on the day after the retreat is launching a clubhouse community. And that
Ooh, I like
clubhouse
that.
will be called Self-Care for Survivors. So I would love for us to
Yes.
collaborate and do some things on Clubhouse. And like you said, there's a reason why we choose particular things. I just think for me, Clubhouse is one of those platforms that serves my self-care because
Yes,
going live and all these other things sometimes don't really fit into our lifestyle. So I love the fact
correct.
that you don't have to actually be on camera and
Yes,
you can be on the go and everybody can come together and it'll notify people who are part of your community. So I
yes,
would love for us to collaborate, but we're
for sure.
launching that at the retreat, and then we're gonna
Awesome,
actually do our first room on that Sunday, November
awesome,
13th. Yeah,
awesome. Sounds
so
good.
I'm excited. So I know we definitely in alignment, and we just confirming,
Yes,
each other's vision and what God will have us do in the next season. So I'm
yes.
excited.
Me
So
too.
how can people connect with you? What are some things you have coming up that you want to share?
Well, for sure, connecting with me, they can go on my website. It's momspecialneeds.com. And my email is momspecialneedsservices@gmail.com. And then, of course, social media, I'm on Clubhouse. I'm sorry, I'm on Clubhouse as my personal name, Betsy Germain Evans. But I am also on social media for IG and Facebook. It's Mom Special Needs.
Okay.
And one thing that I will say is I work most of my clientele comes from word of mouth.
Okay.
So that's the best compliment anyone can give me is to tell any parent that may need help. And other than that, as far as coming up, I just finished a series with an agency. I'm hoping that more will come, but the
Okay.
main thing that will be coming, and it's not currently right now, but in a few months, I am working on a couple of things actually. I'm working on creating a program for parents that they can learn at their own pace on how to become an advocate for their child.
Love it.
So that is something that I'm working on right now. I'm hoping to launch by April, which is
Okay.
Autism Awareness Month.
Okay.
I am also working on doing a retreat
Okay.
for women that have children with disabilities, so for moms.
Love it.
Hopefully, we will be able to launch that sometime next year. It's
Okay.
been something that's been close to my heart, and I've been just contacting people throughout the community that I know for a fact would love to be part of it.
Okay.
Um, and then other than that, that's pretty much it so far, but, we will also have another show. I take a big role in helping my husband in the background, of course.
Right.
Um, we have a show coming up in April. It's going to be a show specifically for kids who have disabilities to take part and be a part of the show where they can either perform a song, a poem, or
Love
even,
it.
whatever it may be, a fashion show, things of that sort. So that particular show is taking place in April. We did
Okay.
one last April, this past April. It was called Future Floristic Conclusion Experience. It took place
Okay.
at the Broward Center for the Performing Arts. And
Wow.
my husband and a very good friend of mine who is a self advocate, her name is Yessie Leva. She has a show called Conclusion. And
Okay.
so her and my husband paired up together and I helped in the background, helping with everything that we had to do. So we did a fashion show with children with disabilities and their
Wow.
parents and their families got the opportunity to come and watch them. And it was such a gratifying and just an amazing moment, really,
Wow.
to be able to do that and to be the first to do it at the Broward Center. So that
Yes.
was amazing in itself. So I'm definitely looking forward to those 3 things, and yeah, so that's how people can reach me, and if there's
Awesome.
anything else that comes up, I'm sure I'll announce it on social media, but I
Awesome.
definitely wanna thank you for, um, believing in me and, of course, being able to just bring me on because sometimes you may not realize it, but bringing a guest onto this show, um, can possibly put them in a situation where they're like, "Okay, now I've said it out loud, I gotta do it."
Yeah.
And one of the things that I haven't said out loud in a very long time that I've kind of hush hush talked to people about are the 2 top things that I named, which are the retreat
Yep.
my program. So
Yes.
now now I have no choice but to make sure that I accomplish.
Yes.
So that when Sierra calls me, she's like, Betsy, did you launch that thing yet? It
Yes.
could be out there.
Right, right. When we release it, God makes provision for it.
Yes,
So
he does.
even though you've been saying it to a few people here and there, God will now say, listen, she is coming into agreement. Now
Yes,
I'm going to release the provision for it. And
for
that's
sure.
how vision works.
Yeah.
That's why God encourages us to write it down and make it plain. And those
Yes.
who find it will run with it. So I'm here to support, hold you accountable, whatever you need. That is my sweet spot in terms of helping women, plan and launch their signature events. So I'm your girl. I got you.
Awesome. I'm looking
Awesome,
forward to that.
awesome,
Thank you.
awesome. Well, thank you again. I will be sure to post the link to your website, how people can connect with you and learn more in the description below. But until next time, you guys, we encourage you to go ahead and get your ticket for our upcoming restoration retreat, Realign, taking place virtually on November 12th. I believe this is going to be an experience for women of faith and female entrepreneurs to come in and, number one, build new relationships, get access to the resources that they need for their specific situations, and be in an environment that promotes healing, growth, development, and first and foremost, just leadership. Like, we are leaders, no matter what industry space we are in, we are leaders. And it's so important to have that support and be surrounded by other women who get it, who get you, because they are either gone through it and overcome it, or they're going through it and they can relate. So thank you again, Betsy. This has been an awesome series of the Balancing Act, and I'm excited about what we have coming up in the new season. And until next time, God bless you guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. We hope that you were inspired. Be sure to subscribe and stay connected for our upcoming restoration retreat, Realign, happening on November 12th, 2022.